In the last section, we spoke about adding on the insert last method. So we're going to create insert last by reusing the getLast function to get a reference to the last node on our chain. We will then create a new node and attach it on. We need to also make sure that we handle the case in which our linked list is empty and there is no last node for us to retrieve. All right, so let's give this a shot. I'll flip on over to my code editor. At the very bottom of our current linked list class, I'll add on insert last. Now remember that insert last is going to be called with some data argument that we are supposed to insert into a new node. So let's first start off by getting a reference to the last node in our current linked list. So I'll say const last equals this dot get last. So that will retrieve the current last node in our list. Now this is the point at which we need to put in some type of check to see if we have any node at all. So last right here can be either a defined node or it could be the value null if we do not have any nodes inside of our chain at all. So we will distinguish between these two cases by saying if last exists, then do something, otherwise do something else. And I'm going to add a comment in here just to remind myself, if we enter this statement or this section of the if statement, then this means that there are some existing nodes in our chain. Otherwise, if we enter the else case, that means the chain is empty. Okay. Now inside of this first if statement, we will create our new node and pass in our data to it. So we'll say new node, and here's the data. So this will return our node, and we want to make sure that we set the previous node on the chain, its next property, to point at the node that we just created. So we can do this all in one line. We'll say simply last.next equals new node. Then the other thing we need to do is handle the else case right here. So in the case that the chain is empty, there is no last node. We have no next property on the last node to update. So instead, whenever we call insert last, that means that we probably want to create the node and then set it to the linked list head property, because we are inserting the very first node of our chain, even though the method is called insert last. So in this case, we would call new node, pass in our data, but then rather than updating some last node or anything like that, we'll update this .head, like so. All right, let's check our tests and see how we're doing. And yep, looks good, adds to the end of our list. Cool. All right, so that's pretty much it for some of the easier methods that we're going to work on. So some of the later ones that we are going to work on now are variations of some of the methods that we've already put together. And so you can see that we're going to put together methods like getAt, which is supposed to return the node at a specific index, removeAt, and insertAt. So these are all going to be methods that modify or retrieve some data at any possible element or any possible index along our linked list. So all these methods right here are going to be kind of variations on what we've already done, but they're going to really test your knowledge and make sure that you can really understand what is going along with a linked list. So let's take a break and start on our getAt function in the next video.